I've had some requests to do a video for the in the hoop flamingo purses, okay? All right, today we are going to do the 2 flamingos, and I am going to do the 9x7 size. Okay, first we're gonna hoop our stabilizer. Now, as you can see, I use cutaway. You can use tearaway, many people do. I prefer cutaway. It gives more stability, I feel, on the inside of the purse. Okay, so once you've hooped it, send it to the machine and it's going to do the placement stitch. Okay, I've added a little background so you can see because I use light pink thread for my placement and it's kind of hard to see. Okay, now I'm going to tape. You are going to tape your zipper in between these 2 lines evenly. Okay, so once you've taped them, if your zipper's a little big, it's okay. If it's a little small, it's okay. Narrow, I mean, not short-wise. It has to be longer than this so the metal parts don't get in the zipper way. But if it's narrower or bigger than these 2 lines, then just make sure you center it over the 2 lines, okay? All right. Now send it over to the machine and it'll tack the zipper down. Okay, as you can see, or maybe not, it's tacked down the zipper. Now it'll do the placement line for the top half of the bottom of the purse. It will do the placement stitch for this part of the purse, okay? Okay, it's did my placement line. Now I'm gonna line my vinyl right up to the zipper as such. Now, if you're using fabric, you would put your folded edge up to the top, right all the way, snug it right up to the zipper, okay? And then send it over to the machine for the tack down. Okay, it's done the tack down. Now it's going to do the placement stitch for the bottom half. Okay, as you can see, the placement stitch was almost the same as before the placement stitch, but some people get confused if the step isn't actually there. So now we will take your fabric or vinyl and you're gonna place it down right there. I'm gonna line mine right up because I know the satin stitch is going to cover that, just like that. Send it over to the machine, tack it down. Okay, the next step is the tack down of the top part of the purse. So that goes there. Okay, just send it over to the machine and stitch it down. Okay, as soon as it's tacked down that, it's going to go right into your satin stitch here and then your flamingo placement stitches. Actually, it did the satin stitch, the legs, then the placement stitches for the flamingos. So now I'll cover my flamingo placement stitch with my fabric and send it over the machine to tack down. Okay, it has tacked it down, which is also the final stitch. So now you will trim it around and leave about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch all the way around both of them. Okay, I've trimmed it. Lesson learned. I am not a fan of this chunky glitter vinyl. It's a pain to cut when you're cutting little teeny areas. Okay, now it will do the placement stitch for the fringe. Okay, it's done the placement stitches. So if you were going to use fabric or vinyl, you'd want a big enough piece that you can trim later. You know, so you can cut your fringe on it and trim it under here. You know, you'll trim it under there, but later you can trim the bottom part however you want. Afterwards, see, like this. This is done with vinyl. See? This one is done with fringe that's already done, and that's what I'm going to do on this. I'm going to tape my fringe in place and then send it over for tack down and zigzag to hold it in place. Okay, so it zigzagged and held my fringe down, and then it did the placement stitch for the top wing. So I will cover that with my vinyl and tack it down. And from there, it'll do, I believe, the eyes and the beak as well. Okay, I had the machine stop so I could show you. So it's tack that down, and it's also the final stitch for the wing. Now you'll trim it about 1/8 of an inch around, the same again. Then it will do the eyes and the beak. When you're trimming, if you use fringe, just be careful you don't cut your fringe when you do this, okay? Okay, it's tacked everything down, it's did the stitches, it's did his eyes, his beak, everything. Okay, now we're on to the lining. It will do the bottom first, and it goes on the back. So you turn your hoop over, and you take your folded piece of lining, wherever mine is. Now, this part at the bottom, I have an extra inch, and that's for turning your purse right side out. So you will line this right up just below the zipper, tape it in place, send it over to the machine, and stitch it down. Then it'll come back and we'll do the top. I've almost forgot. If you want a divider inside your bag, like a pocket or a two-side, this is where you'd put your folded piece of fabric, so the no raw edges there, and you would drop it about a 1/2 inch or so below that, like that. So there will be my pocket on the inside, or my separator for 2 halves. Okay, so now I'll tape that and send it to the machine. Okay, now it's tacked that down. There's my pocket, and now it'll do the top half. And the reason I don't do it all at once, the top and bottom, is sometimes when your hoop slides around the stitch plate, it'll pull something off that you've had taped. It'll tack it down. You'll find out your things all like this and crazy. So I do it in 2 steps, so you know that each one is right. So now you will take the top lining and line it just above the zipper, tape, and send over the machine, tack down. Okay, now it's stitched this down all nicely, and as you notice, the fabric is face up, okay? All right, and after it did that, it did my placement stitches that you can barely see because of the shine here for my handles, okay? Or for my purse straps, whatever. And you can have just 1, or you can have 2. I'm having 2. Make sure your hardware does not get in line of that. So, and the raw edge sticks outside the hoop. So this is how I want mine. I'm going to cut this a little smaller because I don't want much of a tab showing. So we're going to tape that. Yeah, I'm going to tape it right about there, I think. Okay, I'm going to tape it in place. Oh, wait. This is when I like to open my zipper, because otherwise I'll forget. You know, it tells you in the notes, but make sure your zipper part doesn't get in line with that. Just stop it short, okay? So now let me put this one over here. It's funny, I glued these closed, but they didn't stay glued. Surprise, shocker. Okay, let's try this one more time. Let me try to line it up. Gosh, this glare is something else, I'm telling you. It's amazing. Okay, that's about there and about there. All right, so I'll tape these down, send it over the machine, and it'll tack them down. Okay, so it's tacked those down. Now, if you want a back pocket, now's the time you would put your tab to hold your snap, or however you're gonna, if you want to snap it shut, which I do. If I can handle this, okay. Center it with my little thing right there, okay. So it goes like that, and then your fabric, or your pocket fabric, goes face down. It cannot be obviously above that stitch line, you know, but you can have it as high as you want, really, but just make sure the bottom is below the bottom stitch line. So mine's only going to be about yay big, okay? This is curly vinyl, so I need to tape it down. Okay, so that would be like that. Okay, tape it down, all these down. Okay, and then your back fabric would go on, or vinyl. I'm using vinyl. So, and that goes down, face down as well. So make sure you're above your stitch line. If you've pre-cut it, and you know, like according to the measurements, you know where the bottom's going to be and everything. So now you'll send it over to the machine and stitch it. Okay, everything's stitched down. There we have it. See, and it totally stitches the whole thing closed, all right? So now we are going to turn it over, and we are going to put our last piece of lining. Now, this goes face down, okay? Goes face down. Make sure you have that extra inch at the bottom that you're going to need. Right, tape it in place, send it over to the machine to stitch, okay? Okay, it's tacked down or stitched down the lining, and as you can see, there's an opening there. Okay, now I'm going to remove all my tape and take it out of the hoop. Okay, when you trim it, trim the sides and the top. Don't trim the bottom until last. Okay, so it's all trimmed but the bottom. So what you're going to do is you're going to fold back your lining and then trim your vinyl or fabric under there, just not the lining, okay? So we're going to do that, toss that, and then cut your linings to an angle to that stitch where the opening is, and then cut them off. See, like that. Because that is where you're going to flip your bag, okay? So now you're going to find the opening. There it is. Use your fingers. Push it all in there, being kind of gentle so you don't rip the stitches out, okay? The bigger bags are easier than the smaller bags, and it also depends on your vinyl. If you have really tough, stiff vinyl, it'll make it difficult. So we're going to do this. Oh, try to put it through. Oh, sorry, moved out of the camera. Come on, there we go. You'll know once you start getting it, you can feel it. All right, so there's that. Here's my handy dandy paintbrush that I use to poke my corners out with. Be careful you don't poke it all the way through, you know, because that would suck. I probably shouldn't have said that. But, okay. All right, so here we go. Get my corners all out. Okay. All right, so there's everything's all out the way it's supposed to be. See, there's my pocket, inside pocket. There's my zipper. Okay, now what you do is you fold this in, tuck it into there, and you'll see your sew line. Here you have a stitch line. I glue mine typically. Fold it all under there. I glue it and then use Wonder Clips to hold it. Okay, and while that's drying, which only takes a couple minutes, I take this opportunity to trim out. If you use tear away, you would just tear it away, but I don't. I use cutaway stabilizer. So I'm gonna take and I just slide my applique scissors in there, and that's how I get mine out of there. And I use the little ones to do that. So get that all out of there, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got that all trimmed out. I'm going to reach in here and unzip my zipper the rest of the way so I don't split my zipper when I turn it right side out. And I'm going to turn my corners out here, like so. Use my paintbrush, poke my corners out. Different vinyls poke out differently, so you know, press out, poke out. All right, and then hopefully my And maybe that needs to set a few more minutes. Okay, now we're going to turn it right side out. Now make sure if you put a pocket, you're between the pocket and your design. Don't try turning it right side out in there because it won't work. So you grab it with your fingers and press your corners out like so. All right. This is weird vinyl, this shiny stuff. I'm not even sure where I got it. Or how long I've had it, I should say. So then I'll use my brush and poke out the corners. Okay, I got it all right side out. There it is. There's my pocket on the back. I'll put a can snap there to hold that closed. There's this. Inside, there's the divider. And there's no raw edges, no raw seams, anywhere. That's it. I'll put a pull on the zipper and some handles, and there you go. Bob's your uncle.